before we get into like the movie topics of the show, we found out about an hour ago, kind of some devastating news. It's not devastating to the world, um, but we found out that our home theater here in New York City, the place where we cut our teeth doing comedy and learning comedy, performing comedy, is closing. It's not closing permanently. It's not closing for good. Chances are that it will be happening soon enough. Um, but that would be the People's Improv Theater here in New York City. I started doing comedy. I started doing comedy through the Philadelphia Phillies down in Philadelphia with the Major League Baseball team. But it wasn't until I got to New York and I started training with the Magnet Theater, and I really started training with the People's Improv Theater, the Pit. That's where I really learned comedy. That's where I learned how to perform comedy, like what is comedy. And the Pit gave me my first like official teaching job. I mean, I had been teaching independently for maybe 5 or 6 years before the Pit legitimized my teaching styles and gave me like a legit credential for teaching improvisation. Um, it's kind of a bitter. I'm not going to say that I had a falling out with the Pit, but there were some situations that were mishandled. And it's a hard pill to swallow. It's a hard pill to swallow when the place that you love, when the place that has become a home away from home, is now closing its doors. And like we said, they're not closing for good. The Pit had 3 different stages in New York. 2 of the stages are closing. 1 stage remains open, with a bar attached down the street. It's a sad day. It's a sad day because like the implications of this are not looking good, you guys. The implications are not looking good in terms of live comedy, in terms of stage theater. Mike, I know that I don't know if you got your start at the Pit, but you were a prominent fixture at the Pit. I saw you there all the time. I saw you at Pioneers. I saw you at the Pit Loft. Not to mention the Love Bar and other places around. Now, to a lot of people watching this, a lot of these names don't mean anything. They've never heard of the Pit. They don't know what the Love Bar is. They don't know what Pioneers is, or the Loft Theater, or the Underground, or the Stryker Theater. Some of these terms don't mean anything to people, but they mean a lot to us. What were some of your favorite moments and things that happened during your tenure at the Pit?
It's man, it's so hard because first of all, it's still so fresh. The wound is like still so fresh. Like it just opened, and now I'm just trying to like figure out how to sort of patch it up. But I guess really, for me, I just remember I initially went into the Pit. I did acting in high school, and I wanted to get involved in the theater scene in New York. I had moved to New York pretty recently. I mean, I grew up on Long Island and moved to Brooklyn, and then got busy with finding a job and sort of settling in. And then one of my coworkers was like, "Hey, like my boyfriend does sketch comedy at the Pit. Do you want to see one of his shows?" And theater, the atmosphere, everyone just seems so sweet and friendly. And up on the walls, you could see in big bold letters like "sign up for our class today, go to blah 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 blah." And I remember just like pulling out my phone, like looking at the classes and just being like, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to
Yeah.
start. This is how I want to really get a foothold into the comedy scene. And I really have. I kind of think about where I would be without the Pit, and without the community that I was able to sort of throw myself into, and all the friends that I've made. I wouldn't be here. I probably wouldn't be. I wouldn't have the same, social media presence that I have now. A lot of that is from work that I've done with people from the Pit, and with people that I've met there. Yeah, it's so hard to
And I
imagine
think you
life
hit the
without the
nail on
Pit.
the head really hard by saying community, because that's what I mean. You can learn comedy from any comedy institution, really, as long as you like pay attention and kind of read between the lines, because each comedy institution has their own philosophy and whatever. But it's the pit. What made the pit special was the people. It was the community. It was in improv, we often talk about like, I got your back. I got your back. In fact, it's become so much of a mainstay that quite literally, and I mean literally, before every single show, performers are backstage or in the green room, and we literally pat each other on the back, and we say, I got your back. Which is to say, if you make a mistake on stage, I got you. And if I make a mistake on stage, you got me. Like, we can help each other and save each other and pull each other up. And it's become more of a life philosophy when you go through life. I mean, one of the main pitizens, yes, that is what we call ourselves, pitizens, citizens of the pit. One of the other pitizens, Dana Schulman, right now is booking vaccinations for people online, to get your COVID vaccine. And, she was just featured in New York One, I think Time Out New York. Multiple articles have been written about her because she is doing so much work trying to get people vaccinated. And online, her hashtag is got your vax. I got your back. I got your vax. And like, it really has become that terminology to say that we're helping each other. And I think that's, who knows what's going to happen to the actual community of the pit, but it's kind of a heartbreaking day.
Yeah. And if anyone represents the real heart and soul of the pit and that community, it's Dana Schulman.
Oh, man.
Huge shout out to her. It's funny you mentioned the vaccine things, because she literally got someone in my bubble, in my personal bubble, a vaccine the other day. So
that's fantastic. And
that's what you talk about when you talk about community. I mean, it's not just about what we do on stage. It's about everything outside of that. Just the amount of people that really have your back is incredible.
It's true. I remember my first year as an intern at the pit. I've been with the pit since 2011. That's when I started at the pit. So 10 years? Wow, you guys, I've been with the pit for 10 years.
I love that photo on the website of you, by the way. That's a kid who listens to the Aquabats.
Oh, are you talking about this one?
Yeah, exactly.
This was my when I first became a teacher. This was the photo that they my profile that they put up, and I was like, wow, cool. It's that sense. It's such a terrible, like, I don't know, format or picture or whatever, but like, it's just that sense of Aquabats Mike. Even I will go so far as to say, like, the pit has played such a huge part in my life. This is where it's where it all began. This is where I met my fiance. This is a like canvas kind of like picture, whatever. Here, let me pull it up a little bit bigger for you guys. This is how do I frame this? There you go. It's just a canvas portrait, and it's a grid. It's a map of New York City, and the heart is where the pit loft, where that theater is, or where Simple Studios, the training center, is. And the Simple Studios, the training center, shut down a few months ago, and that was sad in and of itself. But this is where I met my fiance, you guys. This is where I met my fiance. We have such, like, this is what we mean when we talk about community. Like, it's not just, hey, let's get together and tell some jokes and be kind of funny and be on stage. Like, this is literal life-changing. Changed my life literally forever.
And there's so much history there. And it's weird for me because I was only there for maybe a little over a year, by the time the pandemic came around and everything had to shut down. And so it's just kind of like, for me, like I lived in such like a short little blip of the actual time there, and to see it gone, it's
crazy.
Again, still recovering for it, still processing.
Agreed. Anyway, guys, if anyone is watching this, if you are a member of the pit community, if you know of the pit, if you've ever done a show at the pit, I would love to hear your memories of the pit. Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know like your thoughts of the pit, like your fun experiences. I have story after story after story after story. I mean, heaven's sakes, I should after being there for 10 years. It's been my comedy home for literally for the past decade, and it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad to see it go. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what the mighty Thor would want you to do. For Asgard!